Hi, I'm Papi Coxxx. When I think about the word queer, I guess in the definition it's like weird or different. And that's something that I own. And I am different. And I am weird. And I think that talking about queerness is not just about sexual orientation, but also gender identity. And I think I straddle many lines or circles when it comes to sexual orientation and gender identity. And even though I'm born female bodied, saying that I'm a lesbian doesn't quite fit me because I'm not attracted to just women. And I don't see myself as fully a woman. I'm female, but not a woman. I'm not a man, so I feel like an anomaly. So queer pretty much fits me in terms of who I'm attracted to, which is consistently fluid and changing, and how I live in my body. I am definitely attracted to trans men, genderqueer individuals, gender nonconforming, trans women, gay men, um, yeah, bisexual folks, male and female. I'm attracted to all that, pretty much all under the queer or maybe pansexual spectrum. Um, I think that uh, there are a lot of history and power with words. So, like sometimes when I talk to people about using queer as an identity, I know that it strikes up a lot of hurt from older folks because it was used as a very derogatory term. But it's definitely a term that I've taken and used as an empowering thing. And when you think about race in that, I think a lot of times we don't see or it's not visible people of color in kinky queer settings, but they exist. I think they exist in part that has to do with community outreach, media, a lot of things. So I think that as a person of color who is queer and also identifies as trans, genderqueer, gender fluid, when I meet other folks who identify like that or even have had a thought in their mind as a person of color, they really appreciate that another person of color is coming out and talking about this or identifying publicly, because I think it's something that people struggle with a lot, specifically like people of color, but it's not really talked about. Talking about sexual orientation alone is, I think, a very difficult a thing. And then when you talk about things that even challenge that, I mean, to come out as a lesbian or a gay man is challenging enough. When you start saying that you're gender non-conforming or gender fluid, you're just fucking with some other shit right there. So, you know, it's nice to see role models, other people of color challenging gender binary, challenging the rigid idea of sexual orientation or behavior, and it can be difficult at times, but I think when I go speak, when I do anything, performance, it's really important for me to identify as a queer, genderqueer person of color. I need to name that, and I wanna give face to that because I think queerness has, or I should say, the normality of queerness has been like whiteness, and so it is not whiteness. It is multiracial and really growing and big and fluid. And when we don't talk about it in that context, that there are folks of color, there are poor people, there are white people, we leave out a segment of folks and people who feel like they don't see themselves. So it is a struggle, but I think myself and other folks who have the privilege of being queer POC people out in the media make it a little easier or give some language or some voice to folks who are struggling with identity. I think my first porn was in 2006, and we're at the end of 2010 now. Yeah, I think my very first, I guess it wasn't porn, it was a masturbation scene for Betty Dotson, and then after that, doing In Search of the Wild Kingdom, and then Trans Entity. So, yeah, for several years, not so much, kind of getting more and more into it, but not as much as I would like to be doing right now. Porn has definitely been a positive thing for me. I think the first time I snuck to look at my father's magazines under the mattress, it opened up something for me because I was a very curious and I think sexually charged young person with no outlet to discuss that, with very traditional parents who, you know, talking sex was just not a part of the agenda. It was basically being raised in that way that you're female, you're a girl, you stay at home, you learn how to cook, you learn how to clean, you meet a nice man when you're the right age, get married, have children. So sexuality or desire was never a topic of conversation, and porn opened up the realm of fantasy and desire for me. It opened up the possibilities of nasty, wonderful shit that I had never seen before. No one had ever talked to me about. And it was not man on top of woman fucking. It was a whole lot of other shit that was really appealing to me. It was definitely in my spank bank for many years as a kid. I masturbated tons when I was young. And those visions really helped me. And it helped to make me think and navigate, who am I? What do I want? Or what do I desire? What are my sexual fantasies? How could I get to do that shit that I see on that porn? How could I do that? So it helped me open up a new path in sexual exploration. What advice I would give to my 18-year-old self? There's so much, but I think the first thing that pops into my mind is that monogamy and marriage are not the only options. I have gone to play parties in San Francisco, Philly, London, and Germany, Berlin, and
Toronto.
And Toronto, yes, and Toronto, and I think for the most part, my experience is pretty much the same in the context of race. I have never fully seen a truly multiracial play space, which is why I provide the parties that I do in New York, or a consistent multiracial play space. But they have been very fucking hot, you know. Switch party in Toronto, in London when I was out there, the party was hot. They're different in different contexts in terms of the setup, you know, how the aesthetics are quite differ. Some parties are really grungy and nasty, others have, you know, cloth draping from the ceilings and very beautiful. So they all have a different flavor, which I actually love. I love the different flavors of parties. I wouldn't want them to be the same. So I get a little bit of something from each of them. So I really can't pick a favorite because they all speak to me in different ways.
And where do you feel most at home?
New York. New York is my home. I'm a fucking New Yorker. New Yorican to the core. The one common misconception that I would correct that people think about trans people would be that there's a cookie cutter model. And that as soon as you say you're trans, there's one idea of what you need to be, and which most likely is, are you getting surgery? Are you having body surgery? Are you taking testosterone? That is a very common misconception because being trans means so many beautiful things, and it spans, and sometimes people call it this spectrum, but sometimes I see it like this. It's this fluid, wonderful, ever-changing, dynamic, deconstructed, reconstructed, like beauty. So I think that is like the number one thing, that everyone is going on the same path, and whatever that path they decide that is. And this is okay, so on my turn-ons, this might sound really geeky, but it turns me on. I am super fucking hot and horny over somebody who has a fucking brain and can talk politics with me. That just turns me the fuck on. Let's just politic, and I will put myself down. I love people who know how to communicate. That's also a very big turn on. Someone who knows how to negotiate and is intentional and is present. But aside from the geeky stuff, dirty talk, someone who's sexy, and that has nothing to do with looks. Someone who's fucking sexy, oh God. Someone who knows how to talk, knows how to maneuver, and is just in it with you. That's the shit that turns me on.